am Abdul Rahman. I'm a lecturer at a public university in Kenya. I deliver lectures in computing and informatics. In our last lesson, we discussed about the string concatenate, and on the string concatenate, we have seen that it is actually the joining of two strings, whereby the source string, it is actually joined at the end of what we call a destination string. And actually you have seen that it actually removes the null character. So today we are going to see what is the string swap algorithm. How can we swap actually two strings onto that particular area? So in that particular journey, we are going to see what is the definition of a swap algorithm, and what are the steps for us to take in order to achieve this particular algorithm. And finally, we are going to use Dev C++ to implement. So let's start onto that. So what is the definition of a string swap algorithm? So we are saying a string swap algorithm, actually it is a process. So actually it is a process whereby we interchange. So it's a process whereby we interchange the content of two strings. So it is a process of interchanging the content of two strings. So for example, if we have two strings, one string maybe is called up a source, and that particular source, basically we give it some string called cool, and another string which we call up a destination, and we give it up a string maybe called super. So if these are the two strings, now what we do at the end of the day, it is actually to take up this particular string from the source and interchange it to the string of destination. So this is the process of interchange. So what will happen at the end of the day when we interchange these particular two strings? So before actually we do up anything, so what we'll have, we'll have what you call cool super. So this will have cool super before we interchange. After we have interchange, we'll have super cool. So basically this is the process. We want to take this particular process, write an algorithm. After writing up an algorithm, then implement in C++. So let's see how the algorithm will look like in this particular area. So if we have a string called A, and a string called B, and a string called temp. If you go those three strings, then algorithm will be very simple. Will be the first one will say our temp should be equal to A, and then the second part of it, we are saying A should be equal to B, and then part 3 we are going to say B should be equal to temp. So this particular algorithm, actually if you have got two strings A and B, and then we'll have a temporary variable to hold the value of A and B, this will be actually the algorithm. Let's take it further and see how we can do it, how we can explain this particular algorithm. So if you are saying A equals to 10 and B is equal to 20, so these are our two strings. A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 20, and then we have our temporary variable here. Therefore, if we follow this particular algorithm, basically we are going to say temp should be equal to A, whereby A, we have got a value of 10, and here we are saying A should be equal to B, where B we have got a value of 20, and then basically we are saying B should be equal to temp, and temp we know has got a value of 10. So actually what has happened, basically it is using this particular algorithm, temp had a value of 10, which is this particular one, and then A had a value of 20. So A has got a value of 20. You can see actually here, actually A, it has taken up the value of B, and then we have temp, it has got up a value of 10 also again. So if we draw this particular one and try to reason out, it will be very simple. So if we are going to draw up our memory here, and in that particular memory we are actually having our values here, whereby A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 20, and here we have temp. So what will happen at the end of the day is very simple. So if we are coming up here, we are saying temp is equal to A, so temp will have up a value of 10 here, okay, and then we are saying A is equal to B, so A, the value of A, it's passed on to B, so here we are having up 10, and then we are saying the value of B, which is 20, is passed on to A, so here we'll have our 20. So at the end of the day, we have seen that actually the value of A, it has been interchanged, and the value of B, it has been swapped. So A now have 10, have 20, and B has got 10. So it has been actually interchanged here. So this is the interchange part of it, and actually it can be explained here. So that is very important to understand. And let's go now back to C++, Dev C++ to try to implement. Basically what we are going to do to implement is very simple. We are going to ask up a user to enter their first name and second name, and then after applying up the algorithm, we are going to see the name after it has been applied at an algorithm and before that particular algorithm it is applied. So basically we are going to have around four variables. Variable, first of all, one for the first name, variable for the last name, and then of course the temporary variable. And then we're going to loop through all those particular characters which are given up by the user. So we are also going to have an index actually initialized to 0. So basically let's go to Dev C++ and see what happens if we are going to actually implement this particular one. So let's go to Dev C++. So in Dev C++ here we have all our variables. So we are going to say our int index, which we are initializing it to 0, and this index basically we'll have to use it for a loop, just to loop through and see what happens. And then we'll have our char first name. Our first name basically will have size of 30, and then we are going to have our last name, and also we'll give it up a size of 30, and then we'll have also our char temp. So those are our variables to actually implement the string swap algorithm. So from there, so we're asking up a user to enter their first name, so we're just saying print f, and onto that we are saying enter your first name. So the user will enter up his first name, and onto that we are using up the gets. We are getting up our first name there, and then we are asking a user printf, and here we are telling up a user what again to enter your last name, and as they enter their last name, we are using up gets to get up our last name, and then basically we are just printing to tell them. So we are just saying printf, and onto that particular printf we are telling them very simple that your full name before swap so we are giving them their full name before swap, so that will be %s and another %s, and basically we are passing on our variables, that it is the first name and the last name. So basically this will just give us as they are, the first name and the last name. Now the logic comes up here. So that particular logic, we are saying while your first name, the index of your first name, actually the index of your first name, sorry. So we are saying while the index of the first name, so here you will have up our index, and that it is our index 0 is not equal to null. It's not equal to null. Basically it means it is not equal to the last part. So our last part, actually it is the null, is not equal to the null or the last string. Then what we do, and from here now we are bringing up our algorithm. So this is our algorithm here. We are taking up our temp should be equal to a, and our a here, it is the first name index, and basically we are saying first name, which is a, first name index, which is a, now should be equal to b, and actually our b, it is our last name index, and our last name index, which is actually b, should be equal to temp. So here we'll have our last name index should be equal to temp. So basically, and then of course after doing that we have to increase the index because of the while loop, so we'll have index actually plus plus. So basically this actually will go through whatever we are giving up the names and go through each and every character until when it reaches the end and find up a null value only stops. So after that we are going to have our printf. So we'll have up our printf, and in our printf basically what we are going to say is very simple. Now your full name after the swap algorithm. So your full name after the swap actually will be percentage s, and then we'll have our first name and our last name. So basically this is how to implement the swap algorithm onto it, and let's see now what happens when we run this particular program. So let's run this particular program. Our program actually runs and give us our prompt, enter your first name. So I'll enter my first name as Abdul Rahman, and then it prompts me again to enter my last name. So I'll enter my last name as Muhammad, and actually it tells me your first name before the swap was Abdurrahman Muhammad, and your full name after the swap was Muhammad Abdurrahman. So basically we have seen that our algorithm actually works when given up two strings. Actually those particular two strings can be actually interchanged. So that makes up the end of this particular session. However, don't forget to subscribe into our later sessions, and in our next session basically we are going to take up another algorithm which is called the string reverse. How, although we have a reverse predefined function on a string, but we are going to see how we can make up our own customized reverse string onto that particular. So that with that, thank you very much for listening, and bye.